So in part one, we made these cylinders, and we got them to this point. We used this tube as our mold and wrapped the slab around here, and they were super soft. So we set them down really carefully on this board. We covered them up and put them back in our cabinet until they firmed up. Now they've firmed up, so I can pick this up without this squishing, and it's considerably harder. It's firmed up a lot, so now I'm ready to work with this. So for starters, I cut this one, the base, a little bit small on this one. So I'm gonna just cut this out completely, and then my bottom will be flush with the cylinder. But we could definitely, if I had prepared this a little bit differently, a little bit bigger, I could have maybe cut this a little bit out and left a little foot or a little overhang on this. But as this one worked out, I'm going to trim this so that it's all flush. And this was just a rough cut too. When I get this attached, it's probably going to squish down a little bit and expand on me. So I'll have to go over this again once I attach it. So now I got this cut to the size that I want. Now I'm going to attach this. So I'm scoring all these joints using my metal rib tool, my serrated metal rib tool here. So it's got the little teeth on it. And this gives it a little bit of tooth so that I can, so that these will connect really well. Now I'm taking a little bit of water. I could also use one of my spray bottles to do this. Actually, this has a little booger in there. So we're just gonna kind of press that in. I could fill that in if I wanted to. But as long as it's pretty smooth, it should be clean. So I gave it a little dunk, and now I'm pushing this down on here. I'm going to put this back on my board just because I'm working with water, and the water will absorb into the wood here better than the slick surface of the metal. So I'm just kind of lightly tamping this down so that it really bites into each other and these really bond well. On this one here, on this bottom, I cut this, and usually the bottom squishes out a little bit more, but in this instance, I'm not going to get a good corner. I am going to trim this bottom a little bit, but I'm going to have a little gap if I don't do anything about that before I trim it. So I'm missing a little bit. It didn't work out quite as I had planned. So I'm just going to go around. I don't have to do the whole thing, but I'm just going to score a little bit of this and drip a couple drips of water in there, a couple drip drops, and then just roll this little coil because I want to fill in this little gap right here. When I apply this coil into this seam, I'm actually going to hold my fingers like this, like a V, and that will make that little void that I'm trying to just do this repair for. So as I put this on, even the way that I apply it, as I push that on, I'm kind of getting it almost into the shape that I want it to end in, which is just to give me something of a nicer corner. So I'm just kind of give this a little bit of a repair. These things definitely never go as expected, especially your first mug. There's tons to learn. Oops, I ripped it off. So maybe I'll give this a little, maybe I'll use my knife tool here to just kind of slide along the surface here and trim this puppy, this bad boy, this bad mamma jamma. Just cutting it all flush. Maybe I can do that along the top too. Just clean any little junk. Oh, that's looking nice. Oh, it's looking nice now. Yeah, you like that? Oh, that's looking nice. So I'm just kind of using a sponge to clean up this bottom edge. Smooth this out. I am going to trim this up a little bit more, but I'm just getting it kind of prepared. You can see there's like a little, in the profile of it, there's always going to be little bumps in this thing, but there's a big bump here, which I don't love. So I can kind of go along this and just clean off any little extra boogers that are really bothering you. Again, we're making handmade pots, so to some extent the little oddities are what gives handmade pots their charm. So we don't want to clean it up and make a super 100 crazy% perfect pot, but we want this to be a charming little handmade pot with little nuances. I'll just smooth the bottom out a little bit more. Get some of that water off of there. So now my bottom's pretty much where I want it to be. I'm going to do a little bit of work on the rim here. So again, this is going to be a huge mug, but a mug nonetheless. So this is a thing that we're going to want to bring to our mouth, right? So we don't want to have like a rough rim or a sharp rim. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fingers and get them wet, and I'm going to soften this rim. I'm going to round this out. So by going around this rim like this with my two fingers making this V, the V is riding on the inside edge here and the outside edge here. So it's riding on the rim, and it's rounding that out. If you can see, this is getting rounded here, and this is pretty sharp down here and mangled. There's little bits. I'm just going to chop a little bit off of here and then continue on. Smoothing this sucker. Oh, this is looking nice. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So we're just right now getting the body prepared. We're just doing these simple basic things to have a really nice simple basic mug or cylinder. This cylinder, it's really just a cylinder shape right now, which could become a lot of things. A mug if I put a handle on it, or a utensil holder, or a vase, or whatever. So the last thing I'm going to do on this mug before I call the body done, or basically done anyways, before I decorate it, is I'm just going to trim up the bottom. I like my pots to just have a little tiny lift off the tabletop. So angle this down a little bit more. If I put this on my banding wheel and take my knife tool and just, let me get this centered a little bit better. If I just cut a little tiny bit off, make a little ridge around the bottom, that little undercut, a little miter, it gives this just a little bit of an angular cut on the bottom right here. And I think it gives it a really nice finish. So now I'm just going to kind of smooth this out with my finger. And I'd say that this mug is in its simplest form. The body of this mug is done and now is ready for a handle. So I've got this one done right here. And I'm going to finish this one the same way. And then in the next video, I'll show you guys how to make a handle and then put it on.